Cephalopods navigate the ocean as high-speed, shape-shifting predators. They solve complex puzzles, change color in milliseconds, and thrive in some of the most competitive environments on Earth. Millions of years ago, their ancestors traded the heavy, defensive armor of the coiled shell for a lifestyle built entirely on agility and speed. Operating a highly intelligent, fast-moving body requires a massive, continuous supply of oxygen and energy. Yet the biological engine driving these animals is built on a severe mechanical flaw. Their blood is highly inefficient at carrying oxygen, and whenever an octopus attempts a high-speed sprint, its main heart completely stops beating. To survive these physical limitations, the octopus relies on a chain reaction of extreme biological workarounds, a system where one mechanical glitch forces another radical adaptation just to keep the animal alive. This molecular diagram compares two methods of oxygen transport. On the left, iron binds to oxygen to create the red blood found in humans. On the right, copper binds to oxygen, creating hemocyanin, the protein that gives cephalopod blood its distinct blue color. Looking at this line graph, you can see how the efficiency of these proteins changes with temperature. In the freezing, oxygen-deprived depths of the ocean, the blue copper-based line stays elevated, outperforming iron-based blood. But notice what happens as the temperature rises. The hemocyanin efficiency drops rapidly. Beyond poor oxygen transfer, copper makes the fluid physically thick and viscous. Compared to the smooth flow of red blood, this blue blood moves more like syrup. Forcing this sluggish fluid through a highly active predator creates a massive mechanical obstacle. It is the root constraint that forces the rest of their anatomy to compensate. Pumping a thick fluid through a complex network of vessels requires immense pressure. The biological solution is to simply add more pumps. This diagram outlines the octopus cardiovascular loop. Here, at the base of the gills, you see two branchial hearts. They act as dedicated intake valves, forcefully driving deoxygenated blood through the gill tissue to collect oxygen. Once oxygenated, the blood travels here to the central systemic heart, which pulses forcefully to blast the thick fluid out to the brain and the 8 arms. These pumps are single-chambered, meaning they lack the backup mechanisms found in multi-chambered hearts. Each has a specific, isolated job, and there is zero redundancy. If any one of these 3 hearts fails, the entire system collapses. This 3-heart system exists because a single pump cannot generate the high pressure required to move viscous blue blood through a high-performance hunter. With no heavy shell to retreat into, cephalopods rely on a muscular sac behind their eyes called a mantle to evade predators. They draw water into this sac and violently expel it through a narrow tube called a siphon, rocketing themselves backward through the water. But the veins responsible for returning blood to the systemic heart run directly through this contracting mantle muscle. Looking closely at this cross-section of the mantle cavity, watch the muscular wall contract. The pressure physically crushes the blue vein shut. With no incoming blood, the central systemic heart stops beating entirely. The exact mechanism they rely on for a high-speed escape directly cuts off their circulation, exhausting the animal almost immediately. Because swimming induces cardiac arrest, the octopus adopted crawling as its primary method of movement. Walking along the seabed allows all 3 hearts to keep beating steadily. Managing 8 independent limbs, each capable of tasting, touching, and bending in any direction, creates a massive computational bottleneck. Coordinating a walk across a reef without tripping requires processing power that a single, centralized brain cannot handle. This wireframe map reveals their neurological workaround. You can see the central, donut-shaped brain here, but notice the 8 separate neural clusters extending down the arms. They divide the processing load among 9 distinct brains. This hierarchy of movement, from blood to behavior, is what ultimately shaped their nervous system into a decentralized web of 9 distinct brains. Copper-based blood requires 3 hearts. Swimming stops the main heart. This forces the animal to crawl, which requires 9 brains to coordinate. Evolution is not an engineer starting with a blank slate and optimal parts. It works more like a tinkerer, stacking new workarounds on top of ancient physical constraints. Despite these extreme compromises, cephalopods thrive in every ocean on Earth. They're seemingly inefficient parts forged into a highly integrated, extraordinary whole. The octopus thrives as an apex predator through this integration, a series of flawed components working in a high-performance chain reaction.